Welcome to the world's #1 fitness business podcast for health club owners, gym managers, and fitness entrepreneurs. As always, this will be a great show as we have another expert to help your fitness business and your career. We'd like to thank our premier sponsor, Active Management, for supporting us, and we highly recommend becoming a member of Active Management to strengthen your business in 2016. There are loads of resources members receive, so join the Active Tribe today at www.activemgmt.com.au. Now that's enough from me. Let's welcome the show's amazing host, Chantal. What's on this week's show?
Thank you so much, Harper. Welcome back, everyone, for another week of the show. Let me tell you about this week's special guest. It is Andrew Simmons, and he is the founder and CEO of Vision Personal Training. For any of you that don't know Vision, they are the largest Australian-owned franchise network of personal training studios, and they are in 53 locations in Australia and in New Zealand. It was awesome catching up with Andrew because he's just very candid, he's really honest, he's passionate, and he's down to earth. And the best bit is that he was just totally willing to share what has worked with the business, what hasn't worked, all of that and more during his time in the industry. So I think you're really going to enjoy hearing from Andrew today. So what else has been happening now? I don't know if I've told you guys, but I've become a little bit addicted to CrossFit this year. I've only started doing it this year, but it's become a bit of an addiction. So it's been a good week. It's been a good week because I managed to get out some solid rope climbs and some handstand push-ups, which is something that makes me pretty excited. So that's been very cool. And the other thing that I wanted to tell you that I've been up to is I've been reading a new book called Hug Your Haters, which basically is all about embracing complaints and keeping customers. And the author of Hug Your Haters, Jay Bayer, is actually coming onto the show really soon. So I cannot wait to interview him because I really think you guys are going to love the interview and you got to get this book. It's very, very cool. Now, before we dive into this week's interview with Andrew, I've got a little favor to ask you guys. If you enjoy the show, and if you find that you've been able to grow your business as a result of the things that you've heard on the show, then could I ask you to jump onto iTunes and leave us a little review? I would be so, so grateful because your support basically helps us to continue to deliver the show every single week. So all you need to do is go over to iTunes, then podcast, then type in the Fitness Business Podcast, click on ratings and reviews, and then click on leave a review. Thank you so, so much. Now, speaking of support, this week's sponsor shout out goes to Rex Roundtables. To find out more information about how you can become a member, check out www.rexroundtables.com. Okie dokie, that sound means it's flashback time. And because I had such a great week training at CrossFit this week, it reminded me of show 13 when I interviewed Darren Shaw from CrossFit Ignite. Now, Darren talked about marketing strategy. It's a really cool show. If you missed it, go back and check it out. It's show 13 and you can find it on iTunes at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. Last but not least, just to let you know, in a few weeks' time, we have a very special guest on the way. He is the author of a new book, which is all about the fitness economy called Sweat Equity, and his name is Jason Kelly. That interview is coming up in late September. Now, to make sure that you don't miss it, make sure that you subscribe to the show notes, which is going to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. That's it, tribe. Andrew Simmons is the founder and CEO of Vision Personal Training, which has, as I mentioned earlier, 53 locations in Australia and New Zealand. Andrew was voted the National Personal Trainer of the Year in 2003, and his original studio in Caringbah was awarded the National PT Studio of the Year in 2010. He holds a degree in exercise science and has been presenting at international fitness and business conventions since 1995. Andrew is also the author of 2 books, Fat Loss Take Control and Ready, Set, Go, 3 Steps to Better Health. Okay, Andrew, are you ready to FitSpire our global FBP tribe of fitness business owners and managers?
Absolutely. Can't wait.
And are you ready to overload them with your pearls of wisdom, your strategies for success, and tips to make them better leaders and business people?
Definitely.
That's awesome. I'm so excited to have you on the show today, Andrew. Now, I've just shared your bio with all of our tribe, and it is obvious, and a lot of people know you very well. You've had years of success. It sounds incredible. Have there been any roadblocks or any hurdles along the way?
Oh, there's been plenty of roadblocks and hurdles. I'd spend probably most of the time sharing those, to be honest with you. I think I've had many challenges around, whether it's financial. I remember back in 2003, we almost closed the business. We had all these trainers working for us, but unfortunately, we weren't making any money from it. I was very dedicated to try and grow a team of trainers, but when your payroll percentage blows out to about 68%, that actually leads to no profit at the end of the day. So I remember sitting back with Jeff, my business partner, back in the early days, and at the time, and we sat there and really seriously thought about closing the business because we were actually making more money as sole trader personal trainers in the gym than what we were when we had 16 trainers working for us in one facility.
And I reckon a lot of our tribe can probably relate to that situation. I'm keen to talk to you a little bit more about that.
Sure.
And so
Absolutely.
what was the turning point for you then, to overcome such a massive hurdle?
Although I think we just had to, as I said before, about the greatest books that I could read is around the E-Myth. And that's all about working on your business rather than your business and then actually creating systems for people to be able to follow. So in the early days, we basically tried to find trainers and we didn't have any systems for them to follow. And as a result, we paid them over what we really could afford to pay them. And then when we actually systemized the business, we could find that we could train the staff from call it a lower level, entry level, and train them up really quickly, which brought our payroll percentage down. And that was one thing we did. I was really fortunate to be able to go to the States and visit a man named Rick Sikorsky from Fitness Together in America. I'll never forget the day that I was presenting at Filex in 2003, I think it may have been, on marketing. And I was talking about our famous weight loss challenge that have been really successful for us over the years. And a girl came up to me at the end of the session and said, there's a guy in the States who's already franchised personal training. He's got 120 studios. And I couldn't believe it because ever since I'd read the E-Myth back in about 1997 or 98, sort of around that sort of time, I'd really been working consistently hard on building systems inside our business that one day potentially could be franchisable. Mm-hmm. We could obviously replicate what we were doing. And to hear around about 5 years later that someone's already doing what we were trying to do, it was pretty amazing. So very quickly, Jeff and I were actually over in the States visiting his head office in a place called Little Rock, Denver, Colorado. And he sat down with me that day, and of course I was looking for the silver bullet, wasn't I? As we all do. And I asked him what the secret was, and he said to me, "Mate, I failed as a personal trainer, and then I went back and studied business, and he said, now I'm doing okay." And it was one of those conversations where I realised that what I'd been focusing on was all the personal training skills. I'd got an exercise science background, so I used to focus on writing the best programs I possibly could for people. And that was what it was all about, rather than actually focusing on my business and my sales skills. And then he said to me, at Fitness Together, we only sell 50, 100 and 200 session programs at a time. And it totally floored me. It really did. And at the time, we were a pay-as-you-go personal training business. Mm-hmm. We were about $40,000 in debt from outstanding client payments because, someone would come in and pay their money one day and the next day they'd forget to bring their wallet. Mm-hmm. And so they'd owe us money. And then that kept on going on and on and on. And to the point that people would owe us hundreds of dollars and just fall off the face of the earth. So when he said that only sells programs, we had to learn how to sell. And that's when I then went and met. I started going to sessions. I've been going to Filex since 1995, and throughout that time, I just go to all the technical sessions. And then I decided from that point, I'm not going to go to the technical sessions anymore. I'm going to go to the sessions that are focused on business stuff. And then I was fortunate enough to meet a guy named Steve Jensen, and Steve taught me how to sell. And we got to the stage where we were able to sell 50, 100, and 200 session programs at a time. And it turned our business around.
That is sensational.
It was really good. I mean, I thought I'd never be able to do that. And when I sat down with Rick and Rick told me that story, I thought, far out, how can I ever do this? And Steve being such a good sales trainer and the rest of it, he taught us. We invested the time and the money into being properly sales trained. and we managed to, I suppose, pull it off. When I say pull it off, it not only those sorts of things not only helped us from a financial point of view, but it helped us from a trainer retention point of view as well. Because one of the biggest reasons I believe that personal trainers fail in our industry is because of inconsistent income. And that often comes because the clients aren't committed, to the program. So, as we know, old habits die hard. So when a client starts getting demotivated, they tend to make up excuses for not coming in and training. And that affects the trainer's income because they're getting paid for the sessions that they do. So it had many, I suppose, the flow-on effects from being able to learn how to sell. It was a really major turning point for us.
Well, I think you've set up today's interview perfectly, Andrew, because first things first, our tribe are here because they are committed to and focusing on the business side of things. So I absolutely love that revelation that you had early on in your career and that learning that you had. And the other thing that I want to say is that we had the privilege of having Steve Jensen as one of our previous guests on the show. So Steve came on and shared some of that sales wisdom and gold that you talk about. So if anyone wants to go back and check that out, I'll dig up the show number and make sure that we include a link in today's show notes. So thank you so much for sharing that story, Andrew.
Perfect. Great. No worries.
So yeah, you've given us kind of an idea of the earlier days of the business. I mean, and now you're Australia's #1 personal training franchise. I mean, when did that vision become the focus for you?
I think it really happened in early days. We realised that we needed to not only create systems for what happened down here at our first studio in Caringbah, but we had a great group of trainers who really wanted to grow and own their own businesses. We want to be able to provide the path for them to be able to do that. And when I heard of what Rick was doing, obviously that was a real springboard for us to be able to go and do it. It gave us the we really toyed about bringing his business back to Australia. We on the plane. I remember Jeff and I sitting on the plane where we'd go on there for hours and hours on the plane coming back. And 1 minute we say, yeah, we're going to bring his business back. No, next minute we're not. Yes, we are. No, we're not. Yes, we are. No, we're not. And in the end, we decided that we believed our systems were far superior than theirs, and that we could actually go this alone and really do it. I think Travis Bell was a big motivator as well. Travis is a great guy. He used to own New Level Personal Training down in Melbourne. And we went down and visited Travis, and he had a couple of studios down there. Also, Craig Harper. He was probably even before then. We opened our first studio really because of Craig Harper. He motivated us to take the step from outside of the gym to then open our first studio, because he had 3 studios in Melbourne in the year 2000. I remember I talk about, actually, I found the copy the other day. Actually, it was the copy of I think it was a 1999 Network magazine. It was a personal trainer magazine,
archives.
And it was out of the archives. And on the front cover was Harper's Personal Training in Melbourne. And Craig was doing 1,000 sessions a week out of 3 facilities in Melbourne.
Wow.
And I was just totally blown away. So Jeff and I jumped on a plane and we went down and saw Craig for a couple of days, and he was just such a great guy. He shared all his wisdom with us, and we were talking about what we were doing. So there was a really good trade of information that was going on, and so we had this goal there of actually trying to build something. We thought, okay, first of all, Craig was doing it. Then we saw Rick in the States was doing it. Travis Bell with New Level in Melbourne, he was already starting to do it as well. And we could see Travis, he was actually growing his business. And I thought, you know what, I want to grow our business in Sydney faster than he's growing in Melbourne. So
it's nothing like a bit of competition.
Yeah. It was really friendly because Trav's such a great guy. He's obviously, I'm really, really excited for Trav because he's gone off to become the bucket list guy, and he's, some really cool things now, but it worked out that franchising wasn't for him, which is in many ways I can understand, it was one of those things in the early days that we just wanted to really cement a strong business model. And the thing really about it was we wanted to give our trainers opportunity to grow. I've managed to grow, like 25 of our studios have actually come from our Caringbah studio, where we base our headquarters. We call it the farm, where we basically have bred people to go and open their own businesses. And I just get really excited by that. When you see someone who's gone from being a some of them maybe being a little bit less confident, and then develop into, really solid personal trainers and then become successful business owners. It's really cool.
That's
I really love
amazing.
seeing that, and then as the years have gone by, I see them raising kids or getting married first and raising kids. It's just really exciting. Hey, I love it.
That's awesome. And I love your passion for it. You mentioned Travis just then, and you said, you kind of alluded to franchises and perhaps there are challenges along the way. Do you want to identify for us maybe a couple of the challenges of running a franchise business?
Sure. I think the biggest one is the dynamic between franchisee and franchisor.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and especially, I suppose, coming from a network like ours, where a lot of the people inside the network have been personal trainers themselves, where they've worked for somebody. So it's almost like there's this feeling they want the employer-employee relationship to continue, and it will do a whole bunch of stuff for them, but they want to be their own business people at the same time. And that's what they call. They call the people who've got franchises or franchisees are generally called intrapreneurs, and that's entrepreneurs inside a network. And it's often an interesting dynamic between that, because they want to run their own business and do things their own way, but they've got to follow the systems. And that's often a challenge inside their heads to realise, hang on, can see sometimes be constrained by the system. So just trying to manage through that can often be a challenge in itself, just to work on that dynamic. And really, in franchising, it's a partnership. And it's a marriage between the two, and that's where it's can often be clouded by the feeling that, okay, we're here to support and provide all this stuff and do all these things for the franchise network. But at the end of the day, it's their responsibility to actually uphold the reputation of the business and follow the systems. So often that can be probably the most difficult thing to manage, is actually just making sure that they're actually following what they need to do all the time. In terms of doing that, often it can be the geographical thing can be challenging at times as well. When you're trying to expand, and as you know, we've expanded to New Zealand now. We've got studios in Queensland as well as Victoria. So trying to manage all those different regions can often be a challenge when we're very New South Wales centric.
Mm-hmm. And how have you managed that? How have you overcome that particular challenge?
Well, I think it's just constant contact.
Mm-hmm.
You've just got to make sure that you find out, and that's where we've got our regional franchise managers, and we're working really hard with them to ensure that we have good, solid, structured visits with our franchise owners, and that they contact them on a regular basis. We get feedback, so we've got things like leadership councils, to make sure that we've got effective feedback that comes back from the network. It's often in the early days, I think it was a lot easier to be able to make some change, because it's like when you've just got a little speedboat of a business, you can actually manoeuvre that speedboat a lot easier. But when it becomes bigger, and it's like trying to turn the QE2, it's a lot more challenging, because you've just got more people to be able to consider, in doing that, and more people who have to make sure they're actually are on board with the process, rather than, I just remember in the early days, we had maybe 10 franchises, and we used to get together on a monthly basis, and we used to just be really agile, and we could actually just get together and communicate really quickly and just go for it. Whereas now, because we've obviously not only got more people involved, but we're just in different areas of the country and obviously international, it just makes that more challenging.
Well, I guess that you mentioned it earlier, one of the things that Vision does exceptionally well is that systems as well. So I would imagine that when it comes to managing those franchises that are out of your immediate area, having solid systems in place must be instrumental to success.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. And that's probably I'd have to say that's one of my key strengths, with that is actually the system development. I've always been I call myself a bit of a systems nutter, and I really got that from the books called like the E-Myth by Michael Gerber, but also from McDonald's. I've been known to worship McDonald's as a business. I was fortunate. I went to the McDonald's Worldwide Convention a couple of years ago in Orlando. And I saw the way they do it. I went there, of course, because they're one of the most structured, systemised businesses in the world. We read a great book called McDonald's Behind the Arches by John F. Love. That was incredible. I mean, I always thought, how hard is it to roll out a product-based business? You're selling burgers. How hard can it be? But when you actually understand what goes into getting the ingredients from the farm into basically to prepare it all and then get it onto someone's plate is unbelievable what it has to go through. And then to be able to get upsold to by a 15-year-old in a store is quite phenomenal in itself as well. So I've really used McDonald's as a real benchmark, I suppose, in terms of systems, and it's been great because to be able to use them as a guiding light has really accelerated a lot of the systems inside our business.
Andrew, you touched on this earlier, but tell us again, what would you say is the most rewarding aspects of having, a business that's the size of Vision across multiple areas? What is it that you really love about it?
I think it is the impact that it has on everyone's life. That's our why is building communities, transforming people's lives. And I'm lucky because I'm able to, through Vision, I can fulfill two dreams that I have. And one is that we can get great results for our clients. And secondly, we can provide trainers with long-term careers. And that's something that, it's been a real passion of mine, is to increase the average career span of a personal trainer. It's one of the reasons why I still lecture in the industry at Cert 4 level, because I just want to see trainers actually be involved in an industry that's so awesome. I've been to the dark side. That is, I worked in a chartered accounting firm for 2 years when I first left school, and I had a job that I hated. But since I left the accounting world and started in the fitness industry in 1992, I honestly feel like I just don't go to work. There's some challenging days. I've challenging days with people. There's always something crazy going on inside the network that generally involves people. But at the same time, I still love it. I love it every single day. So to be able to help people have a career where they feel like they don't go to work and they just love it is really rewarding. And from a client perspective, I did an exercise science degree. You don't get taught how to get clients' results. You do an exercise science degree. Unfortunately, when I say results, it's generally the body changing, shape changing results that they want. Mm-hmm. I was able to get people really fit and really strong through what I learnt in my degree, but I never helped people achieve their desired body shape. But once we learned how to do that through exercise and through nutrition, it's just been awesome. So, when I look on social media all the time and I see these clients from all over the place getting such great results, it is really satisfying. It's just really cool.
That is phenomenal. And I love to hear that passion. I know that so many of us share that exact passion that you're talking about. So, Andrew, I want to talk to you about the Vision Weight Loss Challenge. Tell us a little bit about the challenge, and then maybe you can share with us a couple of, key tips to running a successful weight loss challenge.
Sure. The weight loss challenge has been the cornerstone of our business, really. It was the thing that really launched us back when we first started Vision. It started out back in 1999 when I had my mate Jeff Jowett. He was a personal trainer in the gym down at what is now known as Fitness First Sylvania. He was training his clients. I was training my clients, and we saw this concept from the States called Body for Life. And we saw the amazing transformations that people were achieving through that program. Now, I was very skeptical about that program because it was written by a guy named Bill Phillips. He happened to write the Steroid Handbook, was a competitive bodybuilder. And that's when I thought, okay, well, everybody who's doing the Body for Life program must be taking steroids to be able to get such great results. But then what I did is I actually saw some people that had actually done the program. And then I thought, okay, well, I'm going to put my clients through this program and see how it works. And it was amazing the results that they got through doing this program. So Jeff and I thought, we want to try and grow our business beyond just us, and we want to basically merge our business. So we thought what we do is we run a challenge between his clients and my clients.
Yeah.
And then we'd have an awards night at the end of that, at which time we'd actually unveil our new name called Vision Personal Fitness Services at the time. Mm-hmm. So in August 1999, we had our first weight loss challenge party, and we had the clients achieve some great results. I'm pretty sure one of his clients actually won. Damn it.
Is
that's
the
okay.
Memory a bit foggy?
Yeah, I can't remember, maybe. But it was amazing. We actually had the winners of the challenge get up on stage in tears, and they could not believe how much they'd be able to transform in a 12-week period. And we thought, this is really cool. So we literally announced the next challenge on the night. We said, right, we're going to run another one of these challenges. And we just kept on running the challenges for a couple of years. And every time we ran a challenge, we needed to take on more trainers because they were just so successful. And we just helped people start getting it. We saw them achieving amazing results, which unfortunately just was not happening at all. No one was running challenges. We managed to achieve amazing results. We actually won Body for Life Training Facility of the Year, I think, in 2001. And it just really springboarded the whole business forward. So we just kept on running these challenges basically every 3 months. Pretty much since. I mean, I think I stopped it for a couple of years because I got bored, which was just stupid, But I talked about it actually the other day. I was telling a couple of people, if you get bored, go get a hobby. Seriously, I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that business owners make. They get bored, so they decide to either change their career rather than actually go and get in a hobby. But that's another story.
We might have to make another podcast about that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome. That's great to understand how it all kind of eventuated, because I know that many of our tribe out there across the globe are really keen to get a weight loss challenge or, implement a challenge of sorts into their business. So from your experience, Andrew, what are a couple of tips that you'd give to someone who wants to get a challenge up and running in their business?
I think first of all, you've got to have strong terms of the challenge. To make sure that's really clear how to enter it, what the criteria is, how you're going to judge it. And then you just got to really the thing is getting the trainers behind it. I mean, that's the thing I've seen over the years is when the trainers are behind it, then it goes really well. But if the trainers aren't behind it, it doesn't go very well. I wouldn't suggest to give away crazy amounts of money for the challenge, because I think what it does, it breeds psychos. We did one challenge where we gave away $20,000 as a first prize, and people were giving up work.
Whoa!
To basically focus on trying to win the challenge. It was crazy.
Sorry to interrupt. What would you say has been the best prize that you've given away over the years?
I think it's just our latest one was really good. We actually had them come in for we had the top 10 regions. So we have 10 regions within our network, and we had finalists from each region. We actually flew them into Sydney. Mm-hmm. And we gave them basically a makeover. We got video shoots, photo shoots, and all that sort of thing. And then we gave away just a prize to the overall winner of $2,500. And I think that was the most successful because it actually brought people together.
Yeah.
And they could actually share their story. Mm. So I think that's probably been the most successful one that we've really done. But it just depends. I mean, I think a lot of it's come down to, when basically someone's being ready to actually get results. And we've had some doozies. We've had some people who, we've had some big arguments over the years when we've had to disqualify people from being entered because they may have been given free sessions. And that's something that we actually have stopped, amongst the network. If someone's going to enter the challenge, they can't be given free sessions by the studios, mm-hmm. because then they start loading up a client to win, and then it's like an unfair advantage.
Yep.
So I think the biggest thing is actually having really strong, strict terms to the challenge, so everyone knows exactly how it's going to get judged, and it's a really fair judging process. And if you've got the opportunity, make sure that you have at least 5 people judge. And always make an odd number and have a ranking system so that it can be seen as being like a really fair judgment process rather than it sort of come back to one person judging it, because I think that's when, then you get accused of all sorts of different things. And over the years, to be honest, there's been many occasions where I've actually stepped out of the judging process. Mm-hmm. Because I just feel like I just didn't want to be part or be seen to be biased. And especially that's happened because if I've had a client that's been a finalist from Caringbah here, then and I see they've actually had a great result, then I eliminate myself from that process.
That's really good advice. Thank you so much for sharing that, Andrew. Now, just recently, our good friend JT did one of his live Facebook shows, and he mentioned that he always sees, and I think he had just done a run at the time, a fun run. He always sees Vision singlets when he goes on fun runs. Yeah. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that branding. I mean, how many fun runs are Vision people running in every single year for him to be seeing this on a regular basis?
I couldn't count, seriously. It's been one of those things that's been it's been a really important part of the vision culture right back since I started. Even before I even started Vision, back in 1996, I think I started the first. 1996 to 97, I started the first run club down in Caringbah down here in Sydney. I basically thought, I want to get people together. I want to create a community of people rather than I had all these clients that I was training and they needed to get their cardio in. And rather than they just felt like, okay, I'm just going to run on a treadmill in a gym or something and do a class. They wanted to get outside and do some things. So I thought, okay, well, why don't I just start a run club? And I just basically told everybody, right, we're meeting down at South Caringbah at 7 o'clock or 6:30 on a Saturday morning. Let's go. Be there. And literally I used to have like between 30 and 50 people, way back in the late 90s. And then that sort of morphed into then, because I was actively involved, I was racing triathlon and I was into doing a lot of the fun runs. I did fun runs when I was a kid. I really loved them. And I thought, this is actually something that's really good as a community event, and it's also good for goal setting. As I said to you before, I'm a big goal setter. I've just been lucky because being an elite athlete as a kid and also doing my science degree, I was very much into structured training plans. And I just figured that, people would have to be motivated by an event far more than just motivated to lose weight. So they can make the decision. A good example is they could, someone can say, oh, you know what, I can't really be bothered actually exercising today. If I don't lose a kilo this week, it doesn't matter. But when people are trying to do an event, so they might say do the Sutherland to surf, and it's say on the 21st of July. If they sort of get a bit demotivated, they can't say, oh, you know what, stuff it. I'll just do it on the 28th of July instead of the 21st. Now the event is on the 21st of July. Get your butt to your training session. Because it's actually a set deadline that can't move. So from a goal setting perspective, I think the events are really important for client achievement. And pretty much that's how it really started. So we got clients involved in events, and then we just, as it's sort of gone on, that culture sort of continued on throughout the network over the years. And I remember I used to have to almost drag some of the trainers to get along to some of these events over the time. But I think when they go to the events and they actually see the impact that it has on a client, it changes them as well. And they think, this is really cool to be a part of. And it's just something that they get swept up in. And now you see across our network, there's just events that they go to nearly every single weekend. And they know that it's just a great branding exercise. And funny enough, I think it might have even been JT who actually taught me about that ambush marketing years and years ago at Filex. And I think I listened to him. And now the funny thing is he's actually talking about me and what we do in ambush marketing. But I think I've actually might have learned it from him.
So it's amazing how things come full circle, right?
Yeah.
But it's really cool. And any Aussies out there, I think if you've been to a fun run in the area, you will know exactly what we're talking about. It's a sea of red singlets quite often. So look, let's talk about a couple of logistics for our tribe. Can you tell us, when it comes to these fun runs, do you register the clients or do they register themselves?
I think they generally register them in teams, so that they give the clients the team name, and they either do it at the studio themselves, or it just depends on the studio really.
Right.
I think the ones that are more into it will actually register the clients for them, and sometimes they'll just do it. Trainers say, "I've just registered you."
Yeah, it happens.
You're doing it. Done. And, you're in. You're locked in. Loaded. Let's go.
I like it. And do the clients buy their own singlet?
Again, that depends on the studio. I mean, a lot of the time the studios give them to them as part of like a client rewards thing, the fact that they've trained really hard for it. So that tends to be the way most of them work. I'm not sure that happens with all the studios, but it's something we definitely encourage, that we actually give a client a singlet, because it's, at the end of the day, it's free marketing. It's a really good way to do it.
Absolutely. And after you've had a fun run event somewhere, anywhere, do you tend to see a spike in inquiries?
Look, we don't tend to use it so much for inquiries, to be honest. We actually just use it for retention. It's always been one of those things that we look to really to build the community. Now, if outside people come along and then they start joining, then great. But I think it's more to do with we want to enhance client retention. And that's probably one of the things that we really work hard on is retaining our clients. Because as you know, in the fitness industry, client retention numbers aren't very good at all. Mm-hmm. So we generally use it as a retention tool more than anything else, especially because, our clientele, we're generally known for attracting the weight loss market, and the clientele we look for are generally the 40-plus market. So when you see a lot of the events that are on, most of the people that actually do a lot of these events aren't in that sort of league. Mm. So we actually don't say, okay, let's use it, let's start handing out things. No, we just want to make sure that we're providing our clients with a great community experience. So they feel really good. So it's not about they're trying to promote. I remember in the early days, some of my actually former trainers who went in competition against us. We used to have wars at Sutherland to Surf and try and put flyers everywhere. And I thought, you know what? And we used to put flyers on cars, and then they used to take the flyers off the cars, and then we'd almost get into a fist fight. And I thought, you know what? This is crazy. This is not what this is about. I don't want to be doing this. I just want to make sure that we go to the Sutherland to Surf or go to these events and we just help our clients have a great day. And that's always been the focus.
That's awesome. I love it. Hey, Andrew, I've got 2 more questions for you. The first one is, what's the vision for Vision Personal Training over the next 5 years?
We've got, funny enough, we actually just last year I was fortunate enough to do a course, and it was focused on how to develop your strategy statement. So we did a Harvard Business Review, and we came up with our strategy statement for 2020. So the goal is that we want to basically grow to 100 studios by 2020 by providing guaranteed results to overweight middle-aged individuals via premium one-on-one personal training, group training, and education sessions through a network of small studios in Australia and New Zealand. So that's our whole strategy. So I basically got that strategy statement. That's everywhere around our headquarters team. That's the focus that I talk about in the franchise meetings all the time. So, yeah, we basically, in summary of that, we basically want to double in the next 5 years. And we've got our what we call our plan to win, and that is basically what we're going to do to be able to achieve that. And we actually review that as a team on a monthly basis. And funny enough, as soon as I finish this interview, I've got my monthly meeting with my strategy team, and we're going to go and review that strategy statement just to make sure that we're actually on track to achieving what we want to do by the end of this year. So the goal is to open 10 studios this year, so that basically it's 10 studios for the next 5 years. So we're just going to review how we're going with that.
Love the clarity with that vision, Andrew. It's really nice to hear, and something for us to all remember about how important it is to be so specific with the goal that we want to achieve for our business and our career. Last question for you. Do you reckon you can leave us with a little bit of Fitbizpiration and perhaps tell us your top 3 tips for fitness business owners or managers for running a successful business?
I think get it in order. Get the priorities in order. One thing I've learned recently is that you need to focus on people, process, then clients. What a lot of people do is they focus on the client. Make sure to look after the client. No, your people are your most important people. Your team is your most important. You've got to make sure that you find the right people and you develop the right people. And then you've got to make sure that they understand the processes and you've got good systems to follow. And then the clients will take care of themselves. The client service will take care of itself. But what I find is more business owners do is they actually just focus on servicing the client rather than actually focusing on their people. And that's something that we've been working really hard, and that's part of our plan to win. So we focus on the 5 areas being people, process, clients, financial, and reputation. They're the 5 pillars that we actually look at, and we cover off, when we review our strategy every month.
Andrew, I want to say thank you so much today. You have been incredibly generous in sharing your experience with us and sharing your time with us. So thank you so much on behalf of myself and all of the tribe from the Fitness Business Podcast. Thanks for joining us today.
No worries. You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
It's time for the Fitness Business Podcast wrap.
Tribe, here are my top tips for running a great challenge. Andrew said, create strong and clear terms and conditions. He said, get buy-in from your trainers so that they support the event. Have an uneven number of judges on the panel. And when it comes to a prize, it's not about offering a huge monetary prize. What's more important is to bring people together and allow them to share their story. Thanks for joining me for another week of the Fitness Business Podcast. And remember, what you leave behind is not what's engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others.
Great show this week that you should be suffering DOMs, delayed onset mind soreness, as you are overloaded and that's when your mind is strengthened. You and your business have been strengthened thanks to the amazing support of our premier sponsor, Active Management. Check out www.activemgmt.com.au only if you want to strengthen your business and your leadership. Don't forget all today's links and notes are found at www.fitnessbusinesspodcast.com, where you can also subscribe and never miss a show and maybe win a prize. Next week is another incredible guest with Chantal, so get ready for more Fit Bizpiration.